Hey, welcome back to Songs and Stories from an Animated Mind. I'm Steve Belfer. So the other day, I drove down to Burbank to have lunch with a couple of my longtime friends, Bill and Dave. We've known each other since our days at CalArts, and we've all spent our careers working in animation. Dave's worked on all kinds of productions, including SpongeBob. He's directed Action League Now. He's worked on Transformers and a bunch of other shows. Bill is one of the top guys at Picture Mill, where he's created these title sequences and motion graphics for every cool movie and TV show you've ever seen. Whenever the three of us get together, the conversation usually drifts towards film, TV, cartoons, animation history, behind-the-scenes stories. So this time, we found ourselves talking about some of the weirdest Saturday morning cartoons. I thought the conversation was too much fun, so I said, hey, I gotta tape this, guys. Here's the recording. We're sitting outside at our favorite taco place. You'll hear a little traffic in the background. I've added some of my own sketches to help illustrate what we're talking about. I hope you enjoy it. Here's our conversation.
All of the shows were the weird character plus the Archies.
Right, yeah. So
right,
the anchor character who was like you say, Jabberjaw, and then three teenagers, and an inanimate object that somehow came to life.
and invariably it's a band, right?
Yeah, no,
it's always a band.
Yeah.
It's always a band. So the three teenagers have a band. So you have and that was Jabberjaw. Captain Caveman was the same thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Captain Caveman!
That was Mel Blanc, wasn't it? Came up with Captain Caveman. That was like one of his like later creations. I think.
For him.
He was basically a beard.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Shaped like a peanut.
And the club.
Yeah.
The massage.
Did he have like flies and stuff flying around him?
Maybe early on. I bet that got lost in the second season of animation because it was too much
more of a pig pen kind of effect.
So while we were eating some tacos, Bill was telling us that he recently watched the show Laugh Olympics with his son, and our conversation shifted to Hanna-Barbera shows with too many characters and cost-saving techniques that actually are pretty hilarious. And as a special treat, you're going to see some of Bill's artwork in this section.
There's something for everybody.
Right. So if you're a big Peter Potamus fan, you know you're going to get your Peter Potamus.
So what if? But isn't it easier if you have 40 characters? A lot of them is just their head and they talk, and it's another head and it talks, and there's less action.
Right, because you don't have big crowd shots.
Well, the other thing is that stock library and reuse animation. So I mean, certainly Scooby-Doo and other Hanna-Barbera stuff took that to heart. So if you already had all the walks and runs of those characters, right? I mean,
you just put them in a different.
I've heard that those animators back then, they get paid by the foot of film, and so the exposure sheet, they do a drawing and then they do a hold, and that was like $300, and then they do some other stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoop, and they were making a lot of money on that show.
Well, and that was the beginning of the looping background. Right, where the character stands in place basically as a run cycle.
And it's not even a big loop.
It's like three doors. Yeah. 3 doors and one guy in a suit of armor.
It's
like, it's another suit of armor.
Lives in a house that is an incredibly long corridor with a window table and lamp that he passes at least 6 times.
Exactly.
And then when then the background stops, they continue off screen, and then they do a camera shake.
Off screen hit.
And maybe some smoke comes in.
Well, and then you cut to like Shaggy and he's crashed into a suit of armor.
Yeah, it's like it's revealed.
And then the helmet comes out and it's like, oh.
Dave has an amazing memory. He knows pretty much everything about cartoons, and you'll hear some funny stuff in this next section from Dave.
Yeah, then we're trying to think of the other ones that were like that.
The comedy version of Mitor. I don't know if you remember Mitor, but he was basically like Caveman who turned into a superhero caveman.
Great.
With a flying club.
Yes! That's right.
I forget it was, but that was also when you would get a half-hour show that would be like Frankenstein Jr. and The Impossibles. So they had like 2 things, and The Impossibles was like their Beatles, but they were superheroes.
Yeah.
Were they a band?
Yeah.
They were.
That was their whole thing. They were a band. Coil Man, Multi-Man, and Fluid Man.
But see, it used to be so cool to be in a band, like to be a band.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. Well, and it was like, and for the kids, it was also like, that was an easy thing. Like every episode could have a mediocre pseudo pop song for the chase scene,
and they could reuse the same jamming animation
and the same chase stuff.
Yeah,
and it's basically like the song that takes up the chunk of this middle, and that was it. And it's always the same song, right? And it's always the same animation, right? Like, and it's all based on the Archies of like Richie playing the guitar with his broken hand.
Oh yeah.
And
but what's the one with the girls? Josie and the Pussycats.
You cannot mention Josie and the Pussycats without mentioning Josie and the Pussycats in outer space.
Wait, they go to space?
It's like, but that's one of those things that's sort of like, you already have this weird show, and then they're like, we need to shake things up for the next season.
Right, we got to make it
send
weirder.
them to space.
It's not weird enough.
Yeah, and they did the same thing at Gilligan's Island in space as an animated show.
We shift our conversation to AI being used not only in this podcast, but generally in animation and film and TV. We talk about its economic sustainability, its quality, the ethics. It's a pretty good conversation. Check it out.
Even as a kid, I remember not knowing anything about animation, just going like, that's the same shot they just showed me, flipped horizontally.
Exactly.
You know, like they run diagonally.
Yeah.
They run diagonally the other way.
Hey, I want to ask you guys something.
Sure.
I'm taping this.
Okay.
So to make my podcast thing, to embellish my sketches, as I told you, sometimes I would import it into ChatGPT and say, render this using a light watercolor technique, or render this inspired by UPA cartoons.
Right.
And sometimes it does a good job and I actually like it.
Sure.
And sometimes it's crap and I don't use it,
Correct.
right? And, but what do you think? Like, I feel like I'm betraying artists when I'm doing that. I could stop and I could color it in myself.
Yep.
Right? But it won't even look as good. Because I don't really understand coloration.
Okay, I'm not sure I agree with that.
Yeah, exactly. I think it will probably look as good or better. And the question becomes like, how many bad ones do you have to get before you get a good one?
I would say it like, render this like a Liechtenstein style comic print. That was my idea.
Right.
It's my drawing.
But the fact that it knows what Liechtenstein is to reference means that it was pre-upload. Like, you didn't show it a bunch of, like, things.
Right.
Correct.
You're going off of, it's not a closed system. You're using however they've trained it.
Yeah.
Well, and then to that end, it's what the model was told Liechtenstein style is. So the part that's closed is basically there was a fixed data set of the paintings that it was fed, shown,
trained on,
however you want to say it, and then so that's what it decides what that is. So it has a limited access to what that is, which is why things tend to look good, but I think also tend to look very stereotypical.
Yeah.
Like, it's the lowest common denominator.
It's a fixed thing.
But it's usually what I have in my head too. Like when I picture the halftone and the dots and the thought bubbles.
I think the other thing that comes out of that is it's in some ways it's like it's the first version of that idea.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because if you really thought about it, said like, oh, I want to do this thing with halftones. Oh, but really, you know what? I don't want Liechtenstein. What I really want is like a color Xerox from the blah, blah, blah.
Uh-huh.
And then it's like, but
that's
a lot of work.
Comic book printing process.
Right, the 4-color process. It's not really the Liechtenstein
but
thing.
Do you think this is hurting my fellow artists?
I think it's.
I guess that would be the person I would pay to say, "Can you color this?"
Well, that's the thing. Like you're not paying that person, so that person is not getting paid.
Yeah, but I don't. In this equation, I don't think it seems more likely that the choice is whether or not you use ChatGPT or you do it yourself. Like the notion that you're going to pay for this
project,
or
the third, of course, is not do it at all.
Yeah,
I mean that's the other thing. It's like the obstacle would be so high that I don't have $500 to pay Marco to do this thing, so I'm not going to do it at all. So that is a loss because we don't get Steve Belfer penis. But there's also a loss to Marco because he doesn't get any money. It is a slippery slope. I mean, the bigger problem in some ways is that this stuff has all been aggregated, and by who? right? It's like, and who got paid or acknowledged for the aggregation?
Yeah, or what if we flash forward and they're training it on my style?
Correct.
Yeah.
And then now they're doing that for free.
Yeah, I have to tell you.
Oh, yeah, it's called stealing.
Yeah.
My issue with it, I don't even get into the ethics of the art,
Sure.
the artist thing. It's just it's unsustainable economic model that is going to crash
100%.
sooner or later. Probably sooner because you're
Yes.
starting to see it fray around the edges.
Yep.
So you're using it at this point may just accelerate that
Well,
process.
that was something
And-
somebody was saying, is that maybe the best thing, if you hate AI, maybe the best thing to do is to use AI.
and run it into the ground.
because the economics are so broken at this point that it's costing them more per user to use it than they're getting on any sort of dollar fee.
It's a colossal pyramid scheme.
Yeah,
Because the majority of the money is being passed between 4 or 5 entities.
Yes.
And so somebody says, oh, we need more compute. Invest in more data centers. And data centers, oh, these guys say they need more compute. Da-da-da. And they're, you look at how it's all financed, and it's like they're just loaning money to each other.
yeah,
And so, basically they're going to hit a wall where it's like, they've already started to, in the sense that they basically said to everybody, here's ChatGPT, it's free.
Yeah.
Or it's, $20, unlimited tokens,
Yeah.
do whatever you want. And everybody was like, use it. And they were hoping, well, everybody gets so used to using it that then when we up it from 20 to 40 or from 40 to 400, they're going to be stuck because they don't know how to do anything anymore and they can't work without it. Well, the problem is that hasn't happened. And basically people in businesses who push this thing, it's like, well, we ran through our entire budget in a quarter.
right.
And now we have 3/4 of the year left and we have no budget for AI anymore.
Right. Nobody's made a thing that helps anybody yet.
Well,
There's been no. Well,
there's not been a breakthrough where someone did an AI thing and everybody in the world went, that was great. That was the best thing ever. So you start looking at the numbers of these things, it's like, well, they're going to need X amount of compute, which means this many data centers. Well, the problem is it takes 18 months to 36 months or something to build one of these freaking
And then you got to get it on the grid. Which
and
takes
it's got to get
another,
all approved, and all of these communities now are looking
Yeah.
at these deals that their town councils have made or whatever with some corporation where it's like, it's a sweetheart deal. It hardly brings any jobs into the community.
Right.
And they're,
Somehow it's supposedly going to generate revenue for the town.
Well, and people compare it to the .com bubble. And the thing about the .com bubble was that the people building the infrastructure got out ahead of demand, right? So they built all this cable infrastructure, optical fiber stuff. But when it all collapsed, that was still usable infrastructure. And eventually the technology caught up and that stuff got to be used. Supposedly, from what I've read about data centers, is you can only use them as data centers. You can't turn them into a hospital. You can't turn it into something else.
It's just going to get bricked at the end of the
and
day.
then the problem is that to upgrade a data center, basically because the architecture changes, they basically might as well tear it down and build another one, because it's not like you can just start swapping 8-track cartridges in. It's like, all that's got to be rewired, which means it's got to be recooled, which means it's got to be blah, 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 like it's got to have different rack mounting. Like, so the whole thing basically has to be like gutted and put in again. So the data centers themselves are a fixed lifetime or a short lifetime asset there too.
Yeah, you have to get them up fast enough so that you can actually utilize them. ROI, return on investment. No CEO
They're not going to admit it.
used AI. No, you can't do it because you don't know how much you're spending.
Right.
If you've got a company and you're using a service by another company, and the other company won't tell you how much a token costs, or,
Right.
how do you factor out what am I spending versus what am I making?
So
if you don't know what you're spending, how do you know if you're
How many
saving
gallons
any
of gas?
money?
Yeah, right. You don't know how many gallons of gasoline you're buying.
So I'm spending $20 a month for my little drawings, but it doesn't really cost $20 a
Right.
month. Somebody is paying
It's
a lot.
subsidized. It's basically
Well, the
subsidized.
company is subsidized. It's probably ought to cost you $1,000 a month or more.
It's got to be cheap enough so that people don't feel the real cost, because the real cost is much more than what people are paying.
Right. Well, and it's not in dollars.
Yeah.
Well, what if
It's in all the other
what if
things.
I was rich and it actually cost $10,000 for every episode to color in my drawings, and I was rich and I would do that? is it ethically still wrong in the same way?
Well, if you're going to spend $10,000 to color it, why don't you hire on Marco and David and Carlos?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you're going to spend real dollars on something, spend real dollars and hire humans.
So it actually costs what real people would cost. But it's just an illusion that it's cheap.
That's the thing. It's like it's been sold as this thing that's going to save you time and money, but it's not been proven in any any application.
Right.
Hey, thanks for listening to Songs and Stories from an Animated Mind. Let me know what you think about AI and all this stuff in the comments. I'd like to keep this conversation going with you. Stay tuned for some more cool episodes, and I'll see you next time.